馬車迎えに来るの迎えに来るのね誰かが私を連れて行くのね白い花の道へ風のふるさとへ連れて行くのね連れて行くのね
Challenge, please make sure it's not a dangerous one. Don't worry, Diana. I'm merely trying to show that boys aren't the only ones who can accept challenges.
It's time to do it. Yesterday, I convinced my brother that I could jump over a roof. Clever, don't you think?
Did you jump over a roof?
If you're so brave, you might have to prove
I could never do it.
Ruby Gillis, if I should dare you, would you accept the challenge?
Yes, Carrie, of course I would. And I promise to do my best. Now, what do you want me to do?
Let me see. Yes, I think that'll do. Ruby, I would like you to climb that tree at least up to the third thick branch.
I'm sure I'll be able to do that. Will you really? Won't the big fat caterpillars bother you? You mean real caterpillars? Is that true, Diana?
Yes, Ruby, I've seen them.
If that's the case...
Aha! So you're trying to get out of the dare because you are scared of caterpillars, are you?
You've lost, Ruby. No, I'll do it, even if there are caterpillars. I'm not scared.
You don't have to do it, Ruby.
It's not that bad.
About a week had passed since Anne went to tea at Mrs. Allen's. The children heard the news that Avonlea would be getting a new teacher. For the first time, they'd be getting a lady teacher. To discuss this news, Diana invited her classmates for tea and cakes. The game the girls were playing was called Daring and was all the rage at the time.
Ruby Gillis, I, Carrie Sloane, declare that you successfully completed the dare. Now get down from there before I have to save the caterpillars from you.
This dare was really not so difficult at all.
So the girls let Josie Pye choose the next challenge. Josie decided that Jane Andrews should hop 5 times around the field on one leg without stopping or letting the other foot touch the ground. Jane tried her best to meet the challenge, but after the 3rd round, she gave up.
I can't go on.
Well, Jane, how does it feel to know that you couldn't even finish such an easy dare? Come here and admit to me that you're a failure.
Now, I'm asking you, Josie Pye, are you willing to accept my dare?
Of course, Anne Shirley. It would give me great pleasure to do it.
Now listen carefully, Josie Pye. I'd like you to walk on the fence from where you are right up to where I am.
Now that was very easy. Anne, would you admit that we are even now?
Don't carry on like that. It really isn't that difficult to balance yourself on a garden fence. I know of a girl who walked along the ridged piece of a roof in Morrisville.
You're lying. I don't believe that anybody would be able to do that. And definitely not someone like Anne Shirley.
Don't be so sure of that.
Well, then I dare you to do it. Get onto the roof of Mr. Barry's house and walk along the ridge piece. It would have been better for you to admit that we were even. Do you accept the dare or not?
Don't do it, Anne.
You can't do it.
All right, Josie Pye. I accept your dare and I'll show you that I'm capable of doing it. For goodness sake, Anne, please don't do it. If you fall, you might be killed.
Anne, it doesn't matter what Josie might think of you.
Jane's right. It's not fun anymore.
I'm sorry, but I have to. To me, this is an important matter of honour.
Don't be so silly, Anne.
Don't say that. Do you think the brave knight who fights a duel to protect his honour could be called silly? Now, if anything should happen to me, I'd like you to have my pearl bead ring.
Anne!
This is all your fault, Josie Pye.
Yes, and what about it? And why are you getting so excited? It's just a dare, and Anne won't do it. She's just a big show-off.
Anne, don't.
Don't worry, I'm not scared.
Yes, Anne. I know you're not scared.
I must do it. I can do it. It's easy. I can do it. It's easy. Even a small child can do it.
Please wake up.
Ruby, what happened, dear?
Anne. She's so quiet. Maybe she's dead. Anne, please say something. Say anything. If you are dead, couldn't you just say so? Anne, you're alive.
Diana.
Anne.
Well, Diana, it seems I wasn't killed, but at least I know that my honour is still in place.
Please, Anne, tell us if you have any pain.
Good heavens, Anne, what happened here? Anne, did you hurt yourself?
My uncle.
Diana, please find your father and tell him to come quickly.
Yes.
Father! Father!
Oh. But it's my Anne. Mr. Barry, what happened to her? What's the matter? Is she ill? No, she had an accident.
It's not that bad, Marilla. I tried to walk on the ridge piece of Mr. Barry's roof, but unfortunately I lost my balance and fell.
What, from the roof?
Marilla, I could easily have broken my neck. Instead, I sprained my ankle. So please, let's just look on the bright side.
And I might have known you'd go and do something of the sort when I let you go to that party. Mr. Barry, would you please bring her into the house? I'll send Matthew to fetch the doctor. Please hurry. The poor child has gone and fainted again.
Matthew was summoned from the field, and he left at once to fetch the doctor from Carmody. He was worried about Anne and felt very sorry for her. While the doctor was examining Anne, he stood waiting at the foot of the stairs. He was hoping that the injury wasn't serious, but the doctor's examination showed that Anne had in fact broken her ankle. It would take at least 6 to 7 weeks for the ankle to heal completely. Marilla stayed with Anne throughout the night. thinking about how, out of sheer fright, she dropped the apples when she rushed over to meet Mr. Barry with Anne in his arms. At that moment, she realized just how much Anne meant to her. She remembered the anxiety she'd felt when she saw Anne in Mr. Barry's arms. Marilla knew then that she loved Anne, and that her life would be different from then on.
Marilla?
Oh, Anne, you're awake.
Marilla, do you feel sorry for me because I fell and broke my ankle?
It was your own fault, Anne.
And that's just why you should feel sorry for me, Marilla. Because the thought that it's all my own fault is what makes it so hard. If only I could blame the whole affair on somebody else instead of myself, it would make me feel so much better. What would you have done if you had been dared by someone to walk on a ridge piece, Marilla?
I'd have stayed firmly on good solid ground and let the other girls dare as much as they liked. Such absurdity.
I wish I had your strength of mind, Marilla. You always know exactly what to do. I just felt I couldn't bear Josie Pye's scorn if I didn't do it. She would have crowed over me forever.
Oh, you mean just because of that girl Josie Pye you endangered your own life?
Yes, but Marilla, I think I've been punished so much that you needn't be very cross with me. I used to think that it was so romantic for a girl to faint, but it wasn't as nice as I had imagined. And when the doctor was setting my ankle, he helped me so much I thought I'd faint again. I won't be able to move around for 6 or 7 weeks, which means that I won't be able to meet the new teacher when she comes to school for the first time. When I see her for the first time, she won't be new anymore, and she will know everyone. I don't deserve that. And all the other children will be ahead of me in class. And all that just because of a stupid accident. But I suppose I'll have to do my best to accept the situation as it is. And if you're not too cross with me, it'll make me feel a whole lot better.
But Anne, I'm not cross with you. You're just an unfortunate little girl, and I understand that. And I'm grateful that you didn't damage anything more than your ankle. It could have been much worse. Now, Anne, please eat something so you can get your strength back.
Anne had to spend the whole of the summer holidays in bed. This was very difficult for her, since Prince Edward Island had a particularly beautiful summer that year. Anne spent a lot of time trying to imagine what the new teacher looked like. This she found quite difficult, since none of the children of Avonlea had ever seen a lady teacher. Anne could only see someone resembling their Mr. Phillips. She secretly envied the other girls who could go to school and meet the new teacher.
Marilla! Today is the first day of September, the day the new teacher arrives. I would love to know what she's going to say to the school. Oh, I can't wait for Diana to come and tell me. I've been lying here all morning trying to imagine what a lady teacher would actually look like. If she has red hair, I won't be able to control myself. I wouldn't be able to bear a teacher with red hair. I would rather break another ankle. Look out, world, here comes Anne Shirley.
Please be careful, you know what might happen if you misbehave.
Yes, of course. Goodbye, Marilla. I'll see you tonight.
Don't run so fast, you might fall and hurt yourself.
I won't fall. Ah!
Marilla remembered that it was actually this day, a year ago, that Anne went to school for the first time.
Anne, Diana is here to visit you. Go up to her, Diana. You know where her room is.
Thank you, Mrs. Cuthbert. May I come in, Anne? Yes, of course. I've been waiting for you. Quick, tell me about Miss Daisy. First, tell me how you are. So, how are you? Oh, as bad as it could be for anyone who has missed the most important day of their life. Yes, it must be terrible, but I'll visit you every day. Thank you, that's very kind. Now please tell me about the new teacher before I burst. Is she a Scarecrow?
No, she's young and very nice.
I'm glad, but nice doesn't describe her well enough. Now tell me, what colour hair does she have?
She has dark blonde hair.
And the colour of her eyes?
Light blue. She has lovely eyes.
Really? Now tell me what kind of dress she wore.
It was very special. It had large puffy sleeves. Nobody in Avonlea has anything like it. It's a dream dress.
I can imagine that. And what do you think of her?
I think she's wonderful. She's so full of fun. She laughs a lot and she doesn't get cross at all.
Oh, it's so long before I'll be able to see her.
Don't feel bad, Anne. After school I went to her and told her all about you. I said Miss Stacy, my best friend Anne Shirley, had a bad accident and that's why she couldn't come to school.
And what did you say about that?
She sent her regards and said you must get better soon. Wasn't that kind?
So she knows about my broken ankle.
Anne Shirley, prepare yourself for a surprise.
I really don't feel like going. It's got nothing to do with me because it wasn't my fault.
Why didn't you just stay at home? Why did you come with us? You really are unbelievably hard-headed, Josie.
It was you who dared Anne to do it, so it must be your fault.
That's what you say. But how was I supposed to know that she would do it? It's all Anne's fault. And if she admits it, I'll come with you.
You know, Josie, the last time I spoke to Anne, she told me she was convinced that the whole thing was her fault. And I'm sure she'd tell you the same if you would give her a chance.
I've been wondering about how Mrs. Allen and Miss Stacy...
Hello?
How's the patient today?
Ruby Jane Carey.
How are you feeling, Anne?
Tilly, you too?
I had to see how you were.
Josie, I wanted to know I'm very pleased that you came.
Anne Shirley, I've been thinking about this all day.
Oh, the whole thing's been forgotten.
Listen, Josie, you can be sure that I don't bear any grudge against you. What do you say? Shouldn't we shake hands and forget everything?
I'm not sure what it is you want to forget, Anne.
Oh, stop it. Now give Anne your hand.
I forgive you, Josie.
There's nothing to forgive, Anne.
Give me strength.
Summer was slowly coming to an end. It was harvest time at Green Gables, and Matthew was working the fields from early morning till late at night. He had very little time to visit Anne, but he thought about her constantly. To Marilla, looking after Anne was an added responsibility. She had to rush up and down the stairs to take things to her, but she never complained. She didn't mind because she enjoyed looking after her. It was rather strange, but Matthew, who had never enjoyed female company, volunteered to go to Avonlea to pick up a special visitor to Green Gables.
She sounds like a bright little girl.
He found the journey quite a strain and very boring, and was relieved when eventually they arrived at Green Gables, and he was able to get away from this annoying female. Matthew didn't particularly like women in general, and found those who did the work that men were supposed to do even more unacceptable.
Thank you so much for your help, Mr. Cuthbert.
Yes, you're welcome.
Come in.
Good day, Mrs. Cuthbert. You are Mrs. Cuthbert, are you not? I am Miss Stacy, the new teacher in Avonlea.
Oh, are you really Miss Stacy?
Yes, I am. Most people are surprised when they see me for the first time. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm here to visit Anne. Please, Mrs. Cuthbert, don't look at me as if I had 7 heads.
Marilla, I've been thinking about my patchwork quilt. It feels as if I've been in bed for 3 years, and for all this time I've been working on this quilt day after day, even though I don't really like sewing very much. Marilla, I wish you would finish this quilt for me so that I could be happy again.
Hello there, my dear Anne Shirley. I am...
Miss Muriel Stacy.
Yes, I am. But how did you know that? Are you clairvoyant?
Just like Lady Cordelia.
Who?
Thank you for coming, Miss Stacy. I'm very well, except for my ankle, of course.
You poor child. Aren't you bored? Do you stay in bed all the time?
Yes, most of the time.
Well...
Oh,
A person can have a wonderful conversation sitting in a windowsill. There. Isn't that better? We sang at school today.
really? Lovely.
I'll bring the song next time I come to visit.
You could have told me about it, Matthew. I didn't know she was coming to visit.
I did it for Anne. You know how anxious she was to meet the new teacher.
Yes, but I could have baked a cake if I'd known she was coming. It's important to make a good impression. She must think we're bad hosts and very ungrateful.
The farmer sent his son to cut the wheat, but he didn't cut the wheat and stayed away from home. So the farmer sent his loyal dog
To go and bite the farmer's lazy son.
But the dog didn't bite the son, and the son didn't cut the wheat. And the son and the dog stayed away from home. So the farmer sent his whip to strike the dog. But the whip didn't strike the dog. The dog didn't bite the son, and they all stayed away from home. So the farmer sent some fire to burn the lazy whip. But the fire didn't burn the whip. The whip didn't strike the dog. The dog didn't bite the son, and they all stayed away from home. So the farmer went into his fields and cut the wheat himself.
Anne was so inspired by Miss Stacy that she decided to get well as soon as possible so that she could get back to school. She wanted to prove to the doctor on his next visit that she was completely fit and well.
Well done, Anne. I believe your ankle is well enough for you to try and take a few steps, but please be careful and don't overdo it.
Marilla, I can walk again.
That night, Anne insisted on having supper with Marilla and Matthew in the kitchen.
I really think I should have
She wanted to show Matthew that she could walk again, but this wasn't altogether true. Her leg was still very weak and every step was painful. Matthew had to help her.
It makes a world of difference, believe me. It's much better reading at the table than in bed. That's probably why a broken ankle is so utterly unromantic, don't you think? It's difficult to do anything with a broken ankle. No matter how many wonderful and exciting ideas you could come up with, you still can't do a thing. But there's a bright side to being ill in bed. A person can find out how many friends you have. You can find out so much about who they really are and what they really think. For instance, Josie Pye is a strange person. I offered her all my friendship, but all she wants me to do is admit that I am to blame. If I had been killed, she would have carried a dark burden of remorse for the rest of her life. Diana is really a lovely and loyal friend. She came over every day to tell me what happened at school, or simply to cheer me up. Superintendent Bell also came to see me. I couldn't believe it. He really is a much nicer person than I thought. He showed me where he broke his ankle when he was a little boy. He was quite jolly. And Mrs. Allen is such a delightful person. I believe she really cares for me. She never told me it was my fault, and said I should use the experience to make myself a better person. During one of my other visits, the person said, "Anne Shirley, it's not your fault, but use the experience to be a better person." It was Mrs. Lindy.
Anne
She
Shirley,
kept
you
repeating
should
it,
use
but
this
the way she
experience to
said
make
it,
yourself a
wagging her
better
finger
person.
and pulling faces, made me believe she didn't mean it. I sometimes get the impression that Mrs. Lindy thinks I'm rather a hopeless person.
One thing is very clear, and I'm not sure whether I should be relieved or not. Your accident has changed many things in your life except one thing. You're still a chatterbox.
Yes, your talking is better than your walking.
That's true.
And how?
In the days that followed, Anne waited in vain for her, but Diana didn't come to visit. Anne was very worried about her friend. She feared that something might have happened to her. But the reason for Diana's not visiting is a story for another day.